All right, we'll bring the meeting to order. And we'll start with Rodney Hoy, road foreman.
That took him by surprise.
Give us some good news.
Oh, well, if we have some bids here, I believe that, we can,
Right there.
find out who's gonna do a couple of jobs for us.
Can I cut paper with this now? Is it okay?
Probably not. Yeah, it's that bad. Made the lighter. Don't want it too sharp.
Yes. Looks like there's four of them.
What are these for?
For Stratford Road, the couple different spots for the slope and.
Just one road slide on Spafford Road.
That's a bid from John, I believe.
Yeah, and this one,
And there's
Two
two
over.
yeah, that's for Hanson.
Get, free, maple premium.
with a Jesse coming by or something on him.
Mhm.
This is Andretti logging.
Algegrady. Yeah, that's where we got our.
What happened on Hanson Road? This says Hanson Road wash. as a-
Partially washed
oh.
out, but past.
It's just up past the little learning center there. There's a section there that gave away.
I do have it.
And then there's 3 on the Stratford Road, well, it's 5 on the Stratford Road, but, like 3 of them are gonna try to deal with.
So the bids are for those 3 on the Stratford Road.
Well, the bids are for Hanson and Stratford Road. But-
Right, I
but
see
John-
Hanson he's got here, and then
John's got 2. He gave me 2 because he didn't get 1 done up. He didn't know about it.
This one here from Smith is just Stratford Road.
oh, okay, he's got. Okay. Put them together. They have names for them.
Well, he's got it listed as number 2 and number 3. And I saw it in the paper, but I didn't pay attention. They must be numbered in the request for them.
In the paper, I think it said slides. In Stratford Road.
Yeah,
And when we started showing people the slides, we numbered number 1 going first one up, number 2, second one up. And the
What's that?
third one is
Just sent to me.
number 3, of course.
Do they make it
That's
smaller?
what
I made it bigger.
Right.
Yeah.
That one is past that.
Yeah, and number 1's the old one by the culvert, right?
And the
The engineers were.
You're gonna have to read that.
engineer stuff is still on. Which I,
That's not considered one of these.
No.
Okay, got it.
neither one of those by the ball field. Before the ball field. We get anything from Sean Kelly?
No,
Still nothing.
no,
He says he's mailed it.
I'll send him an email and say,
How much rain did we get? All of those nights where it rained a lot, they weren't here.
I think inch and a half.
That's what it was,
Yeah,
but it came.
We
back
got 2 of them, inch and a half.
fast.
The most recent one.
But
was
he just wants the okay to get these people in the gear.
I mean,
Little
not that
guy
I've
said
seen,
5.
unless,
Yeah,
Yeah.
5 or 7 or something.
That's crazy.
I guess they got what? Party in Chelsea last night, and we did, I got like, just last night.
Yeah,
Well, Dennis said that. It was kind of the funeral, he said that whole thing, like on the water,
Okay.
the water was coming off our apartment.
Yeah.
building. It was going halfway across the driveway.
yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah,
For his,
So localized.
yeah. And he lost, so he lost, some hot water heater. And they did in the sun, they lost. the furnace, hot water
over there.
heater.
Yeah,
Oh, there are a couple of big trees getting blew over around here, 'cause I didn't even know the wind blew around there.
the last thing that I have with Sean was 3 weeks ago, I sent him an email, just wondering if we had an update. He never responded. The only thing I received from him was May 22nd. So I will send him another email.
Yeah,
Did you,
great idea. But he tells me
I wanted to-
now just waiting for the. Oh, well. Here we go. Can't get nothing done until we get where we can say yes or no or whatever.
Oh, this one of them too?
And then this one, whenever you want me to read this one to you, I will.
So does Lambert's include all three sides on the Stratford Road?
yeah, I think
Just
somewhere
references it.
that means it. It's Hanson. That's site one Stratford. Site 2 and 3. You put them two together.
A lot of people.
Right. And one thing we don't like.
Liver,
Yes, and five.
like liver,
Yeah,
Sardine,
I don't think I've ever tried.
brain,
Brain?
brain.
Oh, brain. No,
I'll pass on.
yeah, brain. Or not really like, Devin needs to do your heart. I don't really like the heart.
Or with organ meat.
If
Yeah.
you watch those shows, have you seen when they make head cheese?
That's the-
I wouldn't eat
all
head
that.
cheese.
Yeah.
It was the
That's where I draw the line.
my grandmother.
Grinder.
Makes it.
Really?
Bacon, yeah.
Oh. That's the one.
keep your tongue right in your mouth.
Yeah, yeah.
So how are we gonna,
I think that Mariah,
Here,
write it down.
Let me read this one to you as well.
Whiteboard.
This is from Waters Excavation.
Where are
Um,
they from?
Perkinsville. For Hanson Road, it was $72,342.93.
Oh,
Stratford Road, number 1, was $107,275. Stratford Road, number 2, $30,093.55. Stratford Road, number 3, $30,767.05. Grand total, $240,478.83.
What I want you to do. is
Yeah.
Write down the people and the bid.
On the
so we
whiteboard,
Can kind of all
Yeah.
look at it.
whiteboard was fine. I think I'll see it.
Hopefully forget.
Well, can we carry on with the rest of it?
Yeah,
All
She's done
apples to
that?
apples.
well, she's wheeling it in.
I would,
She's going to take, no.
oh, yeah, I guess that's right.
Good, but I don't know.
what do you want me to break it down by locations, like? Or just Stratford Road as a lump
Thanks.
sum?
Why don't we
No.
just do it by contract?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, well, we gotta do it one way or the other. Let's do it by time. If it doesn't work. it'll be-
Because we aren't. We aren't gonna have one contract,
Right.
one site one and one contract,
Correct.
so two.
Well, it's well, good, but we probably won't.
only.
that's what we took the best of everybody and done that before.
What's that?
I said, we've taken the best of everybody and done that before.
Yeah,
Really?
And with one to one and one to another, it was a real big difference.
Well, let's start this way.
what goes. At least if we get them all up there, we can.
Yeah.
Well, that's how they're like. Everything is split up, so all the-
These people called and I said, this water.
Okay,
water.
thank you.
They called and they wanted to know if they could put a bid in, and I said, of course,
If they could, what?
put a bid in.
Oh, sure.
And, cause I was curious. That somebody, what, a big company like that would be,
Are they a big company?
it says this, he has 64 workers.
Wow.
Where's it from?
Christ, I never heard of it. I never heard of it.
Well, that's why they print it so small.
So the numbers don't jump out.
Yeah. So they should know that.
Now, will this get some of it get reimbursed from FEMA?
It all ought to, but until you get a big check, you should never say it's coming.
That's good. I wonder how that works with FEMA then, you know, if we pick the most expensive one. We're looking at the bidding process and say, wait, a minute.
I think that you have the right to choose
Yeah, I think,
whoever you want.
I think as long as we had 3 bills,
Yeah.
adequate bids.
Yes.
Some of it's reputation, I guess, too.
Some, and also what they described and what they're gonna do, because we've done that before. One guy says, I'll do it for, last, but I'll give you more.
Right.
You go around the corner from site one. They're calling out on one of them, that they're calling out on the other one. Yes.
So have the weather on vacation.
Not bad.
Yeah,
And don't snow.
variable weather was.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
All the things are stolen.
Yeah, but they've had just so much rain off and on, we've had it, I think, so all across New Hampshire.
Yeah, lower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's this guy from down Massachusetts and
Oh, the snow goes like.
tractor pulled everywhere. Yeah, he said he hadn't gone, he hadn't gone pulling rain, yeah. It's got rained out
Yeah.
or, you know, flood into or something.
Couldn't get there, if you over to or whatever, yeah.
The bridge you want down there.
Did you get any square bills?
260, so I'm ahead of you now.
Nevertheless.
When was that? Was there a little window?
It was on I noted on a Sunday, I got it on Tuesday, so it was a week ago,
3 days.
last night, yesterday.
Technically, it has a little bit.
And I've had a couple of other changes, like last weekend, I did have some, but I didn't trust the weather and I wasn't gonna be around, so I didn't have to do it all alone, and I just didn't know if I'd have enough time to. get it all done.
Tony did. A lot of hours last weekend.
Yeah.
Over Saturday, mailed it Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh,
But we kept talking about excessive smoke and stuff like that, so that office all smoky, like it was sometimes. They weren't like-
Good enough, yeah.
Goes uphill a little bit there.
Sorry.
Add them all up on one. Well,
My gosh, huh?
food board. Oh, no.
Who's the one working still?
Why?
I I'm sorry, it was $22.
That one. Thank you.
So 8340 is for both site and three.
Yes,
And how can you do it? If they're not just on one?
well, Lambert can do it for that.
Right. But I mean, I guess the question was, how can those two do it so much cheaper than the others?
And
It's
it's
different than getting 8,000, 6,000.
There,
Lambert's prescription. What is Lambert's prescription on 6, 2, and 3? And
spikes 2 and 3. Please hold it. 6 foot minus riprap, 112 of that, some dense grade. The excavator, remove unstable soil, build riprap 6 feet to 70% height of road, fill in behind with dense grade. That was $4,160 for that stuff. Trucking in dense grade, 1725, truck in riprap, 1620. Compact wheel loader with vibratory roller and hand compactor, 480, and remove unstable soil, 575.
That's almost exactly right on.
That is Nevers.
Oh.
that's why.
And then Al Vigetti for that spot said he would do large spec riprap 6 foot minus estimated yards was 110. 100 dense grade hard pack 3-inch minus
6 foot minus.
Oh,
for the riprap. The excavator 28 hours or whatever quantity 28, 4,620. Trucking in dense grade 3-inch minus was 1440, trucking in large spec riprap 1680, and then trucking out unstable over dig material was 600. And his description was remove and over dig landslide material to stable soil, haul to town garage, build up from work bed to 70% of road height with large spec riprap, 6 foot minus, fill in behind large spec riprap and compacted lifts with dense grade to road height.
what did they have? Did he have a price for stone?
He did.
El Gigetti?
Yeah,
Um,
but, what here, the stone product bills directly to the same.
yes,
That's what I've told every one of them, that go after 10 of them. Off, so I was just gonna bring that up to you. These things gonna get added to because I told every one of them that we're gonna, they build a stone at the
But-
pit.
Al Getty, the price for stone?
No.
Oh,
Just a quantity.
just a quantity.
okay. Okay,
Yeah, and this Smith says stone bought by 10.
okay,
Cause we gotta pay that 25%, and that's usually how we pay our share.
Yes.
And the Smith actually tell us something where he's gonna use?
For the first wash, he said he was gonna use approximately 1,000 yards. 90 loads, and then second spot, approximately 740 yards of stone. And then for number 3, 92 loads. And then he said that he gave estimate for days. He thought it would be for the second and third washout up there, it might be 5 days for the first one and 7 days for the second.
Only reason why I asked that question was, he did tell me that it was gonna be roughly 3,200 for, stone. So I made everybody else tell me what they calculated out would be stone for each pot, and they all ran pretty much neck and neck for that one. So I guess that we would be putting in the right amount of stone, no matter which one we get it, because it really was pretty neck and neck on every site, what was gonna be.
And they're all talking 6-foot stone down at the bottom, up so many feet, or 70% of what they.
well, it's Ward, so 5-inch line.
No big stuff. But one of those big was 6.
8 level 4-foot stone.
4 foot, that's
Well,
big stuff.
one of them was 6 foot minus.
Well, I told him I didn't want a wall made, built that had a bunch of voids in it. And so the logger mix or 2-inch or the 5-inch is gonna be the selection of what they could use to fill the voids in between them big rocks.
Yeah.
I didn't want voids in there for the water to get in behind.
Okay, so. Okay. You got any input on this?
They all seemed quite confident. Ward was, he says he's 23 years in on building these things, and so, we could go look at any job we wanted of his. But I'm quite, as I said the other day, I'm confident that anybody on that board there can do a good job.
Would you like me to be an eliminator? Do you want to eliminate? Can I make a guess? Yeah, there,
No, I mean,
Oh.
that was the highest number.
that's what I
Come on.
guess. I don't know, I was like, well, maybe he doesn't.
More than 40.
Why, where's their numbers
Man,
so high? It's all about the same.
Was it 65 and 40? I don't know.
Yeah. Much overhead.
Yeah,
And everybody has also said that they're confident they can do it all with before. winter.
No.
Are they all doing similar things to what Matt did already?
Yes. And, the top one, he's working for Bethel as we speak.
He always does put that word.
and Lambert
He's like that.
did some work for Randolph. After the big flood.
I guess it's up to you guys, which one
I
you
don't
decide.
like so much more. I tripled the rock that everybody else wants to use.
But,
But we're paying for that.
I don't know where you're gonna put it. That's the problem.
you think John might be overestimating the amount of rock?
If you go by everybody else who I talked to, yes.
But it's still his numbers
Yeah.
higher.
then
Right,
he-
way higher,
his-
100,000.
Yeah, but his trucking would be more.
That's good.
Right.
If he's saying he's gonna bring 3 times more
Yes,
stone in, he's gonna have 3 times more trucking.
well, one of them's 92 loads, if you reduce 50 loads, then it's gonna be less.
Right,
So
But is he
we
gonna
probably
still-
eliminate him then.
Yeah,
yeah.
unless he made the promise to not charge us for what he didn't do, but he didn't do that.
Nice, that's really nice.
You have any input now, Rodney?
Uh, I guess the only import I have, if I have any, would be that Ward's does claim to have the big machine that can do 35-foot reach.
Yeah, I wonder, I don't think Lambert's got anything too big in these, but he talked about a 315 cat. But that's not very big, is it?
Well, that's similar to what Matt runs.
Okay, it's that big.
Well, man,
That's the biggest one, it's 320.
yeah, bigger.
Are they, just out of curiosity, are they gonna go down to the bottom, or are they just gonna reach down and place the stone, or are they gonna make a road down to the bottom?
Well, it's, someone said they're gonna make a road.
Two sites. They don't have to go down, but the other two sites. Somebody's gonna have to go down, even Lambert said he'd have to, Ward said that he would have to go down on the one on the Stratford Road, but the one on the Hanson Road, he was confident he could reach it all right from the top of the road.
Mhm.
So he'd have to go down on just one job. I think the monies are pretty close, even when you look at
Yeah,
Ward's money, that's pretty close stuff.
it would seem like if we took the award on the site 2 and 3, you're gonna get a better value. Because you charge more, or is he just charging?
He's like double.
Yeah, they're right on. Everybody's close on Hanson.
Yeah.
So
It's really close.
But if we do it our normal way, we pick the top one and that we do the end.
What do you pick the top of the highest price one?
Not the lowest.
Oh, the lowest, the top one on the list. I'm not against that.
That's tradition.
Would you be comfortable if we did that? Put them 2 guys?
I visited with the both of them and they seemed very nice. They seem to be very aware of what they're doing. Well, outside of that, I couldn't really tell you. Experience wise, probably of the ones up there that I know of, probably Ward was most experienced. But then again, outside, he's told me I could go look at some of his jobs, I've never actually been out and seen. I mean, he told me about a lot of jobs he did.
Has he done jobs for like Chelsea, Mercer, correct?
I believe he has, I'm sure he had a listing of some of that in that, but. But I'm also, not against giving somebody a fair shot at being our next contract.
Why don't we take Alberghetti and Lambert? Fine.
So how are we gonna
Or-
put that up?
Those two little sites, they kind of,
Yeah,
those two little sites kind of right together, they're within 300 feet of each other, and, they're both fairly small, and
I wouldn't be fair then.
Well, then they're also close, I mean, we're 3,000 difference there, and then we're a few hundred there. and- Well, not even a few hundred there. I think we ought to do it from one to the other, and then do it. And then,
I'll go with mine, but for the answer about that.
Nice. Okay. Okay.
if this comes out. What do you think, John? You have a preference on where someone lives?
Prefer to not. Right, you know, I don't know. If we're not paying for it too.
Right.
Rather have. Whoever has the best reputation,
Yeah, quality.
it's hard to say.
So between Elmer Getty and Lambert, which one was it?
We put it in a hat, do a blind
Yeah.
draw.
Put the phone.
I guess I visited with them, and, I guess I'm confident with that top one.
Okay,
What Albert Getty?
Rodney says Elmer Getty. And I'm okay with it. Even though he's from Bethel.
No, I, most people are.
I've known people from Bethel.
Happy there.
Yeah.
If there's a traffic road, doesn't have to be closed down.
These jobs all. Will not have to have anybody closing them down to do these jobs, not doing that. At some point. I'm sure that somebody thinks it has to close down there, but nobody.
Yeah.
This is input. Because I always had, things within 2 weeks that I had on my road. People go really, really fast, and there's a blind area there, and I'm leaving my sign, to pull down even more.
Okay. On your road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's blind, and there's not enough room, and it's
Sure.
flying down through.
And the normal drivers,
They're one of the usual.
You
Yeah.
guess,
and how you train them, you can put up all the signs you want, but how you
I
train them?
know, and I slowed down 16 miles an hour because I figured I'm gonna have a head on, there's no doubt about it. And I want to have it as slow as I can.
Right. 10 plus 40, still 50.
It's irritating.
Yeah.
And if we direct work, if you ever have to direct more people there, I would request that.
Yeah.
Or putting a comp there or something. And then,
Oh, getting everywhere with that idea yesterday.
Is Brenda talking about you too?
Haven't heard back.
What?
How fast you go on Drew Road?
You don't ever go down your house.
You want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we, award the bid for the 4 sites, I'll get a construction. Whatever his name is.
That was a second.
Okay.
Look at that.
We got some good work from those Bethel folks.
Yeah,
All in favor of Mike's motion, please say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
You notified them, Ryan?
Sure.
Rodney?
they probably need to be.
Would you, notify the restaurant if you didn't make it?
Yeah, do you want, are you gonna call Derek that he got it,
Safety.
or do you want me to?
I'll let you, give them the news first.
Okay,
Probably really don't go to
But
the
I
firefly thing.
I also feel that, so they're not waiting on it, it's them about something to do the rest.
all right, yeah, I'll send it out.
I think these guys might just make another team that when it comes to the natural disaster, we can probably count on them coming into town, help
Right.
out.
That'd be good.
That was one of my points that I was selling to these guys. Treat me right, because I got other work to do.
As long as they know that the local, not Lancaster,
This makes you wonder about companies like water, so like, who is hiring? I'm like, municipalities. can afford that?
Oh, I would not ever discard Matt. Okay, but Matt is so darn good, it's almost impossible to get him.
Mm,
If it's emergency, he will drop and run for you, but
You know,
to get him to show up any other time.
Very easy to get.
That's nice. You know, I'll remember that when I give you my
Somebody said the other day,
my
"Don't hurt them,
reservation.
hire the busy guy.
Yeah.
Trying to get
Very easy.
Hire the busy.
Very easy.
All right, so we got that done. What else you got?
I hope you want.
I washed my hands.
Mr. Pickett is back to Holland,
Set my sand.
yeah,
Oh, good.
he's back to Holland and, I surmise that if we can find truckers that will truck for the same price we did last year, that's gonna be okay with everybody.
Mhm.
But he's gonna try to see if he has somebody who can help him move that over.
Mhm.
Worst comes to worst, we'll have to figure out how we can get trucks ourselves to move it over. I kind of like to have him do as much of it, see. It only makes sense, puts the money in his pocket somewhere, then somewhere else.
Well, get on toward deer season. If we're not done with it, we'll have to.
And you've got enough. Well,
We got ourselves plenty. And, bringing that, I would like to, have George Eldridge, if he will for me, I'd like to have him put those 3 culverts in over on Clay White. That we need to go in.
The ones from that photo last spring.
John.
I'd like to get that dealt
Oh,
with, and I just don't see myself getting that.
And not to interrupt, but what about Stonehouse Road?
I've been there. I sent the grader up there because I knew it was gonna rain and, like everybody else knew it was gonna rain. But I sent the grader up there to cut some tracks, some outlets, and I decided that the grader is gonna be in that neck of the woods working, so I took a load up of 2-inch with 2 1/4 with my truck, and Larry took up a load. And we patched in the very worst stuff. And it probably could use another 10-wheeler load towards the very top at some point. But it's, I think it's in pretty fair shape now.
Mhm.
what was that cost for, where you're putting?
Yeah, so technically there's 21 yard of stone that went up there along with the grader. But I don't know if there's a way to get the word out to these new people. That these class 4 roads are really, they want to save them. It's kind of up to them to do something about helping save them.
Well, our class 4 road policy says that you'll go around and look at them, and if it seems like they need work, it's to our advantage. And we'll do it, but we don't want to encourage people to.
Well, we also kind of got so many rules that ain't funny, is that we got that we're only gonna be there once every 3 years. We're only gonna be once a year. And a lot of these people don't understand that they can't just watch the water go down the road. They gotta jump out and turn their water. I mean, all the people that used to live in these places all knew that they wanted a road, they had to watch their road and make sure it didn't run down over the bank somewhere. And I feel that we've kind of lost that touch. That,
Maybe when people buy those places, we ought to put a,
Give them a thought.
well, that would also a welcome packet on them what's going on. And a shovel.
I was fence by a grader once made out of an H frame.
Yeah,
That's the stupidest thing I've ever bought. I wish I had it.
you could go around patching up these class 4 roads.
Yeah.
All right, we'll put some water bars out here.
Yeah.
Save the road.
That's right.
What else? Did you get your piston ordered for the backhoe?
We welded the one that was in there. And right this moment it's holding. Couldn't tell you how long that is good for, but we did weld it, and it is working.
Oh, good.
I have a feeling probably it is cracked.
Would be bust off, I think.
The swing wrist has a little short piston about this long. Has two buttons on it to hold it, so it can rock up and down. And in the ram end, the rod, the oil goes into that end down, the shaft is drilled, so it weakens it in the first place.
Mhm.
The shaft is drilled for the oil to come down through and back through.
Right.
We had a pretty bad leak. And so the eyes with it was up, must have blew the seal out, so we ordered a new seal for it. Got it all back together and our leak was still there, and that's when we noticed the hairline crack around the end of it. So we welded that, but the piston, I mean, the bucket still turns on its own. When you set it down on the ground or try and pick something up and these teeth over here grab more than these teeth here, the bucket will turn. I think it's probably because that rod is still, it's cracked on the inside and letting oil go into both the tubes.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's probably what's causing that. But it's usable for now. But I would be a bit surprised, we're gonna need to put a new piston in it, and that's the part that hurts a little bit. It ain't much of a piston, but it's $2,500.
Well, if it comes to it, then you have to buy it. I think.
Another seal.
Seems like big money for that kind of little stuff.
It's fine.
So are roads continuing to get worse, you know, with all these subsequent sort of mini floods? It seems like we got softened up with the big one, at least from what I've seen. And then, you know, right, keep pushing and pushing.
I'm outside of they are getting washed. I am very happy with how they're holding up. That being said, there's work to be done. But I've been other places and there's a lot more work to be done than around here. And, but I don't wanna do any, I don't even like speaking about it because it's a matter of. It all boils down to, do you get the one big gusher? And then that changes the whole ball game.
What's happening with Tuttle Hoyt
Well,
historic structure?
Chris Pump tells me I should leave it alone until FEMA sees it. If we can keep it standing upright.
It seems to me it's right on here's edge of that, on the other side of it, on the left side, that stone was just this far from falling down,
Yeah,
and then it would be trouble.
and, but he says if we bury it in so water can't get in there, it will take away the effect of how bad it really is, and FEMA won't probably do much of anything for us. And so he wants me to leave it and have them people see it as is. We got down in there 2 days ago. I had Matt up there with his excavator because the end of it got plugged again. And while he was down, he lowered Thomas down in there so he could get some pictures underneath. And one of the pictures, if you know what you're looking for, clearly shows a big piece of granite in there that snapped right in half.
Oh, really? Wow.
And the lower side is just like, you said, it is ready to go away.
Yeah, all it's gonna take is one gusher to move the stone underneath it. It's just gonna fall down. I mean, the whole
The
bridge.
roof, the roof will fall in, right?
Well, no, just the
That
part of
side will go away.
that side of it. Because what it is the old stone structure, and then the road was narrower. Looks to me like it's in halfway decent shape. But when they widened Stratford Road and paved it, they just took a bunch of stones and they held them in there, not near so carefully. And that's what, and over the years, the frost gets in there and pushes the stone right in. Well, it needs probably a $300,000 bridge to replace it.
Possible. Now, one of the ideas been tossed out, if we get the go for it. Is books have another big culvert like we had put in down here. That, we can put into that hole. To then call it a temporary
Mhm.
fix. And like the water man said, might take you 10 years to get temporary out of there. And that would be a way to fix it. It'd be down probably 5-6 days.
Is there anything? Because it's a historical stone bridge that we have to worry about there? Or is it
If
not?
FEMA deems it unsafe and it has to come out.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're waiting on, is FEMA says this thing is no longer useful.
Okay, so if FEMA says next week it's no good. Then we could proceed with putting the culvert in place. it.
Yeah.
And it cost us
They would pay for it.
16,000 or something, for that one on Button Hill, or 20,000.
Well, see, if they deem it, it needs to come out, they will pay for the temporary setup.
Right, but it was only 16 or 20,000 or something a few years ago, so it's probably gonna be 30,000 now.
No, it's because the rules have changed a little bit, it probably will be considerably more than we want, due to the fact that you gotta dig a trench across there somehow at some, and then which seems to me like it's gotta go right through Fred's driveway.
Yeah.
But we gotta get a 4-foot culvert in to get rid of the water while we're putting in the big culvert.
Yes.
And so that will be, and then, of course, the 4-foot has to come back out after the big one's in. And so there's a lot of digging to be done twice, 3 times.
We're all coming down Drew Road.
But still, it's not.
Well, see, the problem is, you can't get down to it. Can't get across the bridge to get to the Hoyt Hill.
Yeah.
We're going down the other way.
That's on Morrill Road, Morrill Road. Drew Road, so.
So what else is going?
You know, we're plugging at, trying to make nice looking roads. And for the bulk of it, it's working.
Yeah.
But it does get a little old when it don't even wait for it to pack in any. And the next gusher comes the same night, we put it in,
You're picking up brush and trees.
and that gets a little hard. We just finished today. Cleaning up from the big wind.
Mhm.
And or at least I believe we've done our share, we took it back to our boundaries everywhere that we had trouble. And,
On town farm. On town farm.
well, on the town farm and on the, I'm pretty sure that the guy that owns the field there. What's his name? Smith. I'm pretty sure he's gonna let us take those 4 or 5 other smaller trees and actually widen that corner a little bit. Probably won't happen this year.
Yeah.
But he doesn't like that corner, and I think now that these trees are gone. It makes life a lot easier on making that corner. But it's quite remarkable, because those big trees tipped right over,
Anything to do with that, or-
and
He's gonna come back.
the way the hill was made there. they fell onto that hill, which pulled the roots right up out of the ground,
Yeah,
and then they shot them halfway back across the road. So we really had the road blocked off up there.
speaking of books, how's that bridge going?
They are getting there. I don't know, I think they're pretty much on schedule, I guess. They're fighting the water, trying to keep everybody happy and, keep the water out of their business. And, which, for the most part, it's been working. The little bridge down here that we had a picture of some little stuff in underneath there, that needed to be retrieved. Well, apparently the last big gusher got rid of it for us.
Somebody else's problem.
But your machinery's holding together, okay, your trucks and.
I can't wait for Larry's truck to be no longer. But, because like Thomas's truck, I don't really like the idea of running it back and forth to Chelsea. Because I'm a little worried that she'll be down again next winter if we use it too hard this summer. And Larry's truck is kind of in the same boat. We're only like 6 weeks away now from being able to put a new truck in its place.
Mhm.
Because the other one's on the floor having the body and stuff installed now,
Oh, good.
and just a matter of, can we hold together until it
I hope so.
comes time? I think everything's working fine, so I'm sure I got something when I get home that I will say, geez, I should have asked him about that. But I was kind of hoping we were gonna, I still want to ask you. If this guy tomorrow comes back around and he has this stuff in the office here, and you folks look it over as soon as possible, we gotta wait.
Yeah, Sean,
Yeah,
yeah, I can email it to you as soon as I get it.
What is that about?
He's the engineer who's supposed to be telling us what to do on Stratford Road.
Oh,
Disappeared.
if we can get a hold, if this stuff comes in tomorrow, I don't really wanna wait another 2 weeks to have him start his process of getting a design made.
I can swing by.
Cause I was hoping it was done last meeting. And, he told me that he emailed it to us. And for some reason, he must be using the wrong email or something.
Well, kind of got some- All right, well, that's all you got.
That's it.
You can leave.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Rodney.
You can run.
Thank you, Rodney.
Pick some fresh blueberries from Mariah's backyard.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah, and I might.
I have some raspberries now that I've. You can
yeah?
go see some of those if you want.
This is for later?
Yeah.
All right,
Now we're running behind.
but since everyone's here, I'm gonna switch gears and go to Falls Hill. Mariah said I should.
That'll catch us right up.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyway, go ahead, Mariah.
Well, you had asked me to reach out to Nate Stearns and ask for the material, so you do have that in your packets there, and I think that had also been emailed to all of you as well.
I didn't see it.
eh, Here. So just a follow-up,
And I'm on the Zoom if you have any questions.
Sure. Well, I guess since I haven't read this and I don't know, Jane, could you give us a brief overview of what you put in your letter?
Sure. So the email that I got just asked to share whatever information I had found about the improper laying out of the Falls Hill Trail. And, the basic summary is it was improperly laid out because it was never laid out at all. Everything that's happened seems to be based on an assumption that the road was laid out at some point long ago, but there's no evidence that's been produced to show what that layout is. I mean, even today, when I look back at there were some select board minutes from February 2010. There's a description of what I guess is potentially the center line of what the town thought was legal trail 4. But there's no indication how wide it is. And there's really no way to tell what actually constitutes legal trail 4. But it never was laid out. Even going back to the oldest town highway maps from 1931 right until 2013, it was very clear that the town never thought that there was a public roadway there. Even under the ancient roads statute, there's the attempt to add it as simply add it on to the town highway maps doesn't work, because that only worked if there was an actual laying out from a long time ago that describes what the road is, and that doesn't exist. And so the only way to make it into a public right-of-way was to follow the procedures set forth in 19 VSA section 701 and do a full survey, laying out, public hearing, etc. And just none of that's ever happened. So that's why I believe that what the Ancient Roads Committee tried to do when they added this in 2013 was squeeze it in under the Ancient Roads Act, which says that if something was laid out in the past and it's visible on the ground, it's evidence of use as a highway or a trail is visible on the ground. I think they tried to squeeze in under that provision, but they never produced the evidence that the road was ever laid out. In addition, the only reason that it's visible on the ground is because it was used as a logging road, and it's been maintained by VAST under a separate private agreement for years. No reasonable person looking at this before 2006 or even 2010 would have thought, which is the relevant time period for the Ancient Roads Act, would have thought that this was a town road. And there just isn't sufficient evidence that it was ever a town road. There is no laying out of it in the town records anywhere. That's the summary.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Stern, or Mr. Stern, yeah.
So just
Oh,
for
Rudy.
further background, under the provisions of the ancient roads process that was adopted, the Agency of Transportation has the documentation that back then, and that road predates this town. It was an Indian trail previous to that, and it was known as the Brookfield Road. And that's why it was allowed under this provision. So the laying out process, it's a different category for that road. And the documentation is all on the Agency of Transportation, have it posted, the documentation that was provided in that, not a formal laying out process, but why the backing of the history of that road.
If I get a picture of that road in my beers map, because it's 1870 something.
And the white law map that's
No
even older than that.
maps will get it on it, but one right there on the wall. These little maps right here, those have it on it.
Yeah. And there's another white law map that only knows that also has that map on it. And I have the documentation from the Agency of Transportation on that computer. I can print out that documentation if you wanted, but that was the provision it was allowed under the ancient roads.
So what you're saying is it was never properly laid out, but it was used as a road from way back when.
Previous to there even being a town. here.
Yeah. So, I mean, somebody must have at least laid it out. Some landowner or something and said, let's go this way, and people
Well-
did.
It was a road before there was a town here, so there weren't landowners.
Right, but my point is, somebody laid it out, but they didn't do it officially according to statute. And then after that, people continued to use it as a road, even though it wasn't technically a real road by statute. And that's how it became a
And
road.
that was one of the provisions that was built into the ancient road process. And
Yeah.
that was why they allowed that road under a different process than the formally laid out roads that require other documentation.
You know, was there any evidence of why it's 3/10 of a mile is legal trail now versus the whole, I mean, I assume it was a road that went further somehow over the hill or something?
It appears that most likely the old road washed out, was consumed by the stream.
Mhm.
And was relayed out. And that part appears to have documentation for a formal laying out. But I don't believe that that's ever been fully pursued.
And is there any documentation about it being discontinued? I mean, I guess if the 3/10 of a mile from Falls Hill is legal trail, then it must have been discontinued from that point over to Kelsey Mountain
The
or something.
documentation that I've looked at suggests that the road that went down the stream was discontinued.
Yeah.
But was replaced by another road that was described, but I don't believe that. I believe the specifications are there for it, but I don't know that it's ever been laid out. Or if it
Gotcha.
has appeared.
My father always claimed, like he said, the road went down by the brook, and then it get washed out. And he never said anything about that different,
It ever moved in.
but, I mean, not saying it wasn't.
There. I get vague on that part, I have looked at a deed that describes the laying out of an alternative route,
Really,
but I couldn't make that detail. When I tried to follow any of it, and I'm not very good at doing that.
So Rudy, or Nate, what's laying out mean? Like, what do you have to do, to a trail? So be considered
Typically, it's
laid out?
done with meets and bounds and a description of directions and number of feet. And a formal process
kind
that
of like
describes
that for,
and how wide the road is.
So we have ancient records of pretty much all the existing roads in town, of that.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna, I'm not gonna back that statement.
Or it's just de facto that here's a road, right, that it's now a class 3 road and we've been using it for so many years, even if it's not in.
It would take
A
a
road
road,
book,
a lot of digging to. No. Yeah, so I,
But that's when you see like a 3-rod road, right, it might be at that. Needs and measures.
conceivably, that's supposed to be the process. And I think that's what needs describing that, did not happen with this road.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, respond / add to that. I think that, one of the other issues, even if you assume that there was a laying out that happened a long time ago, the other issue is the way that the ancient roads statute was put together was required the laying out regardless of whether the road was visible on the ground. And visible on the ground is probably a little bit too short of a way to summarize what's in the act. But it had to, the use of the road as a highway had to be visible, physically visible on the ground. Given the state of this road, I don't think it's reasonable to assume that the use of this road as a prior highway at some ancient time was visible on the ground. The other piece that didn't ever happen here is there was no notice ever given to the landowner. Nothing. I mean, this was just done without the landowner's participation. And I ask you to just put yourself in the landowner's shoes. Buy a piece of land. There's no indication whatsoever that there's a public road. You know you've got a logging road, you know you've got a vast trail. And then without any participation on your part, the town just declares that there's not only a public right-of-way, but a public right-of-way that ends in the middle of your property. Typically, if there is a road that only serves one property, or right-of-way that only serves one property, and that property owner asks the town to discontinue it, it's usually just done as a matter of course. And I'm not saying that it has to be done, but it's very unusual for a town to try to hang on to a public right-of-way that doesn't go anywhere. Which is why my client tried to offer the suggestion of an easement, which was rejected, so be it. But I still don't believe that this road was properly added, or the legal trail was properly added to the town highway maps. And I don't believe that it meets the requirements for being a public right-of-way. It would be best to just clear it up and discontinue it, but that's all I've got to say on that.
Okay, thank you.
So
Rudy,
I cannot produce those minutes now, but I have read the minutes that indicated that Cal Hemingway was in fact at the meeting under the ancient roads process, and there was, I believe it's in the roads and not in the, so I just haven't had time to find those again.
okay,
We found that documentation that indicated who was at the meeting when that happened, that was present.
Who is speaking, and
This is Rudy, Dan Rudell.
Rudy? Oh, okay. And what time frame were you speaking of?
And
Where-
I'm gonna have to go back through it. I believe it was around 2010.
I never learned that I had been endowed with a legal trail until 2021. Ever. And if you look at the minutes, there's nothing in there that indicates that I was ever involved in anything that had to do with the legal trails process. So I'd be very interested in finding where this document came from, Rudy.
Okay. I will see if I can locate it again. It was in a set of minutes.
It's a 4-hour drive, and I would have remembered had I been asked to attend a meeting in Tunbridge that had to do with something of this variety. And of course, there's nothing in my deed that indicates anything to do with any kind of public right-of-way or private right-of-way for that matter.
okay, I guess we need to do some more digging. And, has anyone else got any comments? All right, so,
One thing
yes, John.
that does make a difference is the other three all were class 4 roads, right?
Legal trail, yes,
That were downgraded to legal trails.
as far as I know, yes.
And this was never a class 4 road, right? As far as we know. Is that right?
Well, it might have been. If it was
Yeah, I
a
don't
road, it
know.
was a 3. We don't know
Yeah,
yet.
I would have to check maps, I've got all the maps from the agency of transportation that show since 1931. What the mileage was for class roads, I can check whether it was on it.
Is that when they started to classify roads?
The fourth class distinction didn't come in, it's really was.
Yeah.
Was when they established fourth class.
And the other classes? Those-
That process all got formalized more to have all the different classes in the '70s, and then there was another legislation. That then also added the legal trails in the '80s.
Right, let's say in the 30s or 40s, what were the various roads? Was there a class system or was it every town?
It was typically marked as travel or primitive. Rather than a class.
Right. But then like what would be in the 30s? The state highway versus Stratford Road, for example. They would be two different classes or two different.
Yeah, it essentially fell into what was maintained by the state and what was maintained by the town.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the class distinction weren't established until later.
State highways begin.
Don't know that.
We can Google that later.
I have another question.
Yes, go ahead.
Is it your intent to try to establish essentially a road using the definition of what a road is, so many rods wide or chains wide, starting at Falls Hill and intersecting with another road in either in Tunbridge or in East Randolph? Or are you talking about merely the 3/10 of a mile of legal trail?
Well, in my mind, right now, I'd like to get to the bottom of this legal trail, whether it's a, whether it was a road or not, whether it's a legal trail now or not, and then we can proceed from there. As to whether, I mean, to go with your request to throw up the legal trail or to, I guess I just need more information to make a logical decision.
So you haven't taken a position on that.
No, I haven't. I don't know about Mike and John or anybody else in the world. I just want to get more information so we can make a real good, thoughtful decision. So we're far from the end of it. Well, not far. I mean, I hope we're fairly close to the end, but we're not rushing to make a decision and we're not trying to drag our feet either.
What else could we provide you in that effort?
Well, like Rudy said, he's gonna look up and just get a little more evidence, if you want to call it that, of past goings on. I don't know of anything else.
Or of the narrative, like this is the first I've heard that because it was an ancient Indian
Yes.
trail, they had a special sort of waiver category for that.
Right.
If that's the case, then obviously the Indian trail just depend 3/10 of a mile, so.
Well, what my father said, was we used to come down
Right,
to Kelsey Mountain Road.
so why wasn't that included, for example?
It was,
Well,
but it was.
It is,
Right,
it is if you go back. Fine.
But it was discontinued. It sounds from what Rudy said, that the washed section was discontinued with the intent of replacing it with another section, but it never got
Never got done.
replaced. So maybe that's why there's only 3/10 of a mile of legal trail on Cal's land, because the other part was never officially put into place.
And
My recollection, and again, I'm gonna have to find the documentation on it, was that there was a description of it, meets and bounds.
Yeah.
but it was not clear that it was ever actually.
I think
laid
I've
out.
seen that, again, just like you said, I couldn't make head or tails of that.
Well, Rudy, there is nothing in the submission that went to the state as far as the 3/10 of a mile legal trail that talks to me as the landowner in any form. So whatever documentation you're looking at was, as far as I know, looking at the submission that went to the state, was not apparently understood or available or aware of by the people who did the work in 2010 and 2012. So it's independent of that. And I guess the question is, what is its value as well in terms of the process? And I just throw that out as a question because being a flatlander from out of state, I'm depending upon you to solve the mystery of Vermont, even though I own some Vermonters from Shoreham.
All right, we'll try to get to the bottom of the mystery. So stay tuned. We'll be in touch, unless you've got something more to say.
The only thing I would ask is if Rudy does find those papers that he's looking for, if he could share them with us, we'd greatly appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thank
Thank
you for
you.
your time. We're not done.
Thank you.
My father had a 59 feet lot. And David Farnsworth bought a 90 feet and 16 tires. When we came over Falls Hill, we went down into my father's, and it was pretty scary. Yeah, on the side of it, like,
How old are you then?
probably 12, 14.
Very impressionable.
Yes. My father
You want to make an
never
impression?
did it again.
All right, I think we're done with that subject.
Probably the last time it was transferred.
That's probably it, yeah.
So we've
But
got-
we used to drive. I got on the snow machine trail.
Has the snow machine trail changed at all?
The what?
The snow machine, has the vast trail changed? It's been that way since you were a pup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And like I said, we used to, in the summer, it was dry, you know.
Oh, yeah.
We used to go up and drive over, and, you know, go and film.
Let's
Never
start
thought we'd go.
on Andover, would you just cut over?
Oh, Kelsey now, Kelsey now, yeah, Angel, yeah.
Is there a way to get up to that intersection? So when you drive up your field or pasture or wood roads on your land?
No.
That's it? Not really.
Not really.
Yeah.
We built a snow machine trail up through.
We connected that.
Rudy.
Yeah.
So this might give you a time frame
Well-
to when it would be,
Snow machine, yeah.
talks about,
All right, we gotta get back
Yeah.
on
when they were
track.
talking about the legal
It
trail.
wasn't road. They drove the years up there,
Right. One late night,
one late night.
trunk full of booze.
I want to say that this ended up not being in the select board minutes. I think it was in the. Well,
We have
we're gonna have to go.
other legal trail.
I'm not sure whether
Not that I know of.
legal trail people here.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I assume they're legal trail.
Part of our.
And nicely.
Cal,
Could be.
Greg, it was
I
not.
could ask them direct questions.
George,
I'm gonna get it.
chill at that meeting.
Are you people here on behalf of legal trails or some other issue?
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah,
That's
Oh, okay.
I've been trying to keep everything in mind.
exactly, that's
You're
what I should have.
welcome to stick around if you want, but we're done with
So
legal trails.
1949, It shows up as.
We're gonna move on to policing.
Highway
Maybe this stuff here,
hand drawn.
just part of our package.
Oh, is that from George?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of our information.
Oh, yeah, I got that email.
Me too. I mean, do you want to, as long as we're on legal trail, discuss that before we move on?
Yeah.
All right, you see George? Oh,
No,
George is gone.
they all left this side, we're out of here.
Fred Pond, what's your opinion?
If you don't act one.
Well, I guess they're marked,
He's probably making an omelet or something.
we can go walk them.
Yeah, but,
Well, George was there, but I guess he's abandoned us now. But anyway, the email here from George, which I'm sure everybody's read.
Yeah.
It sounds very discouraging.
Yeah.
Or like George is discouraged.
Yeah.
And so. Review again on Orchard Road Legal Trail. Jonathan is gonna make a designation and put it on our website, town website, what people could go at all on Orchard, any of the trails, but Orchard Road in particular, on foot or on bicycles or whatever. Is that still the case?
I don't know. I saw he was gonna close it, right? He's the steward of it, right?
He did close it.
Yeah.
Because of the weather,
Mostly, and because of, we have to figure out how to get through the wetland areas.
Yeah.
Not just, pressure one, I hope he's saying that.
Okay.
But in-
That's why it's standing this.
Yeah, but until he decides to open it, it's closed. Yeah.
So this is different.
That's a different one. Okay.
So anyway, this sounds from George's email, like this alternate trail is a no-go.
Oh, this is
Either one.
1990,
Yeah.
that's a long
so
time.
why
Okay.
is one a no-go? Is John and Cheveria?
Good, and go over.
it's gonna be more difficult to bikes than the existing right away.
Right,
Okay, I thought it was.
Very wet area with the fire bike bridge.
but he says it's my proposed option. So I would think that being a biker, it's well, maybe more difficult, does someone solve the problem of
Is everyone seeing it?
avoiding
It's an email from George,
the homestead,
you might will see.
but I have a feeling that John. John doesn't like this. Right. Doesn't say here whether it's,
And these are the two maps.
the other one. Way up.
I mean, it looks like it's where Ziggy and Zaggy, are they? I had envisioned that Matt Loftus would take his 550 bulldozer and just make a nice path. I mean, it would go up and down and around, but
Oh, no, right now.
for that old thing he got, yeah. But my point is, I envisioned something like
Stop.
a P7 right in it or something. But I envisioned something a little more than a path.
Right. Right, that would be mine.
Or. I mean, if it's. Primarily for bikers, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know what, do they have a consensus on what, you know,
I-
single track or. Don't be wide, I have no idea.
Well, we have to have it. A certain way, if you met somebody.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like me. a person.
Right. But then again, if you want to put path, you could actually meet it when you stop and somebody could have a right, so it's just, nothing's impossible. It's just, I just envision like
We were, but
Ryan,
one is, don't want to stop.
right?
And that whole question then of, is it just bike only? I mean, it's 4 bikes, but. If you're a pedestrian or do we say they can't go on it just so we don't have, right, the bike meeting?
Yeah, well, my opinion is that we have a legal trail And we have a right to use it, we have a right to maintain it. And so walkers can stay on the legal trail and use it. And if for some reason this new trail gets shut off all of a sudden, then we'll just put lights back on the other trail, as long as Jonathan Benton says it's okay.
Yeah.
Because we still have it, and I don't wanna lose track of that again. People get distracted for a couple of years.
Well, I'll try to catch up with John and George to see why. George's option is.
And I like that idea of starting out way before the dog's place and having it enter onto the legal trail. I like that idea. You know, we should have learned.
Yeah.
And then everybody could do it. Or, most of them, right. You wouldn't be unless you got a Jeep.
That's right.
All right. All over the board, yeah.
All right, now let's move on to policing. Lenny from Orange County Sheriff Department called me, and then I guess
It was Emily,
Emily Betts, or
Yeah.
Emily, whatever, Newman,
and then called me.
and they wondered why we didn't have a contract for Orange County. He's the
Lenny's like the lieutenant deputy.
second in charge or whatever.
And you said,
And I said, I don't know, because I wasn't there, but I understood that we weren't gonna talk about it next meeting.
That's where we're at.
And so they wanted to know why we didn't just sign a contract with them.
oh,
Do you want me to tell you my answer?
yeah,
When Emily asked me.
Don't have high confidence.
we don't, certainly don't have to sign a contract for anywhere near that amount of money. If they're going to spend 3 hours a month or whatever.
For $10,000. Yeah,
Right. And we can. What's our latest invoices?
I don't think we have any.
Okay,
We also, I can pull older invoices from last year, even when.
no, from February.
Yeah,
From elections.
I can check with
When
Becky,
did
but I don't think we've had. any.
Convoys take over officially?
February.
February 1st.
Is that what it changes?
So we've had a few, because they're handwritten
Yeah. we got some.
invoices.
Oh, then they don't go to me anymore, because I used to get like the policing
We got
reports of
some,
like what was happening.
Like last month or something.
Yeah, they were handwritten
We
Oh,
didn't get
okay.
it.
for like a half, what was it, half
Half
hour?
hour.
Yeah.
I also spoke with Brian Palmer again, who said that he is very interested in helping us, whatever that looks like. He understands, obviously, our budget is tight this year, but that
I see.
he's into rural policing. Yeah, Bob Child sent us a letter as well.
What?
That should be the first page.
That's what I was gonna.
I've seen it here somewhere. Robert as a child. Let's read this one.
I don't understand this.
Thanks.
Frank, do you want to keep this?
I don't have to.
I was just gonna put it in the binder of legal trail. This is my legal trail.
Okay, now go ahead, because I have an email. copy.
Oh. Loretta would do what Palmer
Right.
said he.
Yes, Loretta is also
Uh,
more into it.
Yeah, I read it one day, so she said she didn't really feel comfortable saying too much last time she met with me. Because she still had an arrangement with Bill one year at that time. Working. But she said she was definitely interested in one that we discussed.
I think it seems more that
well,
we need 3 other towns to.
you have to come up with some. Financial things, information.
Well, unless she's willing to just charge us, well, I don't remember what it was, 65.
50,000, 60,000, something like that.
No, I mean, what do they charge, $65 an hour or something like that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Or whatever it was.
And just give us what our $10,000
Yeah.
divided by $65.
Right. Unless that was it, which isn't much, but it's what we've been doing. Or more than we've been doing. The one thing I liked about Windsor County was, at least I understood that they had a bunch of different deputies, and some of them, if you had an animal complaint, for instance, you would call up and say, we got an animal complaint, and then they could maybe send an officer up to deal with the animal complaint.
Well, animals.
And then if you had some other, I don't know what.
Suicide.
Well, that, yeah,
Or
Or-
like someone stole a tractor, I guess.
or a domestic abuse or something, maybe
That's not-
they could be more specific to what we need.
Well, that's what I want the conversation to be more about. You know, that sort of reactive policing that we want.
I don't
Some, when crime happens. That you get a real person who listens to you.
Yes,
Whereas all this is just like just a bunch of patrol cars driving around the roads. I'm not sure that does much.
right,
And we're just paying for it. We don't even,
yeah, I'm not sure very much either.
I'm not sure we're ever gonna get that.
but maybe. with The four towns. And you have a dedicated officer. Who shows up after a crime and says, okay, you know.
Well, and this
Instead
may
of
not
call
be,
your insurance company. Yeah.
this may not be a fair comparison, but like Jody has been doing a lot of work since the flood. Jody Boyd, she put out a lot of, the test kits for water wells and all this other stuff. I saw her at the store last week and she said, I put in a lot of hours, but she's gonna put in a lot of hours. And then maybe next week or week after, she won't put in any hours.
Right.
And so I'd like the police to have that same mindset that maybe I'm gonna put in 10 hours this week. And maybe next week I won't put in any, but at least I'll be serving the community.
Right.
Well, would you like me to get Loretta in here to talk about that and kind of just say to her, you want less patrolling and more just keeping the budget for reactive policing type of thing?
If she's willing to talk, sure.
Okay.
I mean, it seems like it would be handy. I was under the impression, speaking with her, that she needed another.
I think she's gotten a lot more since last year, though,
Yeah,
because
she
a
has.
lot of Orange County has gone there.
Right, so maybe she's worked into it, now she
Right.
can actually service, so yes, I'd like to speak into her.
Okay,
Yeah, because last time we talked. We were gonna hire from the car.
Right. But maybe she's already got the man now and she's going to be able to fill out those hours. So I guess contact her. and-
But even just how that works, you know, like if. If you're witnessing a crime.
Yeah.
You know. Don't call Chelsea. It's, you know, the one who's gonna call, the state police, I guess, or if we had this, system, it'd be nice.
Call state police, if they don't know somebody's sitting down the road, they ain't coming.
Right.
Well, a few years ago, there was a shady character hanging out over past town garage. And Rodney was worried that shady character might break in the garage. And so called Orange County, and they said, we don't have anybody, we can't come down. But maybe it was Brenda called Loretta, and Loretta sent a guy up. And none of her business, and we didn't get charged for it, but the car went through and back, and maybe that shady characters. I think that shady character might have been led away that day, but I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, what happens when there's like a rash of crimes and, you know, on a road or something?
Right.
You know, just have at least somebody,
But if you put connected dots too.
right, respond. Yeah. I mean, I just. Not really want to just think of the bill.
So I guess, in my opinion, we ought to contact Orange County and just say we're still thinking.
well, I had just let them know when I talked to Emily that
Mhm.
we were still just discussing and
Okay.
that if we decided to sign it, I would send it up. So
Yeah.
I kind of just left it open.
Okay.
I don't think we have
We're all
to
set.
back out.
They offered us and they know what our budget is, but they've offered,
Orange County,
yeah,
I have the contract.
how they're gonna fulfill it. Or how they'll use that.
Oh, I also have the from Randy Boyd
It's especially good.
to fix the Foundry Bridge.
Oh.
$250. Oh, I thought. Well, just replace 16 bad beams with new ones. Second meeting, bring that up later. We're still talking about policing.
Yes. And maybe we ought to get Palmer back up there again.
Yeah,
Okay.
See what he comes up with.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting anything from this letter, but Robert talked to any other town.
no, just Loretta. Yeah, that's the important thing, that you gotta get four towns committed to doing this.
I think we need to,
Well, even if we didn't. Washington, like he said, be on 110.
but that's the $30,000 per town, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
You know that.
Yeah, oh yeah, we aren't gonna get,
But we can't do that,
we aren't getting any kind of coverage for $10,000
but we're kind of stuck with 10,000 for this
for
fiscal
this
year.
year. Yes,
Because,
Yes.
I mean, we can go to, in my opinion, we could go to 12 or 15 and say, well, we just, well, we had to spend it, but we can't spend 30
no.
because we've already told the voters. we're only
No,
spending-
no, I agree with you there. This is something we're gonna have to look at in December.
But we don't have to spend the 10 either.
What's that?
We don't have to spend the 10 either if we think we're not
Correct.
getting our money's
We
worth.
haven't for
Right.
several years.
Well, the budget's just the budget anyway, so.
Yes. But I think we ought to get something that we're thinking about by December, so
Yes.
we're making our budget.
Yeah.
Figure out whether we're spending 10 or 15.
So on August 9th, we're going to start.
Yes,
Good idea. So Mr. Palmer will primary. Loretta will.
well, we talked to Laura, let's see what her plan is.
Yeah, let's talk to Loretta.
If we don't,
Yeah.
we don't like it, we'll get Mr. Palmer.
All right. Let's move on from policing.
Fair road closure.
Tell us about that.
We have a fair road over in West Tunbridge.
I am on the ball this year, so I thought we could sign this. Fair road closure for Spring Road and Potash,
Same as usual.
same as usual.
You think we ought to do that?
But
Close the roads during the fair?
Just the parking for Potash,
Mostly not road.
yeah, not allow you over. Closed.
I'll have to come up with a call. Phil.
Yes.
That's okay. It'll be a legal forever then. No, it's a regular old thing, closing the middle bridge. All right, I'm gonna sign it.
All right,
We want you to drive, so you're really high. Drive check with the international clock on
over, also,
over the.
I will, if you ride with me,
There's just two, and then there's some.
bring your mattress and parachute.
That must be a little tickly, right? On hills.
It is, plus you can't see the tires, so you don't know.
Oh, really?
Land recording vegetation approval.
You had a question for me about that, Mike?
Yes. A citizen called me today. Said, I tried to find it, but said there was something on WCAX not a long time ago about someone their house and land came up for sale on the internet, and their neighbor happened to be a real estate agent. He saw it,
Mhm.
and she went over to him and said, "You really sell them?" He said, "What are you talking about?" Well, they had somehow got digitalized records and changed names or something, trying to sell them. In trying to find that article, I found an article that said, and this is a little different, because vacant houses,
Right.
people were going in and changing stuff and then selling them online or something. Anyway, this woman wondered how safe digitized records were.
Well, all of our records are still gonna be maintained in the vault, These are just copies that would be online.
That's what I
So
thought.
even if somebody did change it and tried to pass it off, it's not a valid, like, it's just a copy, it's just a picture and the real record. Like, I'm gonna continue doing paper indexes. It's gonna be exactly the same as it is now. It's just for the researchers that wanna come in. And the copies and everything like that. will
That's just
actually-
the backup. Right?
Yeah, it's just a backup, so if like this place, God forbid, something happened and the vault didn't hold, like, there's a copy.
Mhm.
But also, it's mostly
It's
just
in the
for,
cloud.
it's in the cloud. It's mostly just for, at this point, researchers, people like during COVID, when it was shut down, people still have access to the land records and can do the job that they need to do.
Well, that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
Well, someone can still get duped though, but it's not our fault.
But it's a.
Right. Right.
And they
It's like
can't,
any
and they
problem.
like can't really, because then like when people go to do the research, it's gonna be like, well, here's the actual
Yeah.
deed that is like
Yeah,
stamped and.
it's down in the vault.
Right.
Well, the one I heard about was renting an apartment. It's going to Middlebury or Burlington or someplace, some kid used to go to college and they seen the apartment online and they said, oh man, I'll send the money today, you can get that apartment, and then it turns out, the person getting the money doesn't own the apartment. So
Well, I
stuff-
think that's kind of what this
Right.
selling this house thing.
Like, send me a down payment today and I'll hold the house.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we'll give you a deal.
Well, that's not really.
Well, so I've got my 3 bids anyways. This has already been approved with ARPA. You've approved up to $18,923, which is what I had.
Digitizing.
Yes, which is what I had got for one company called Avenue. They would come and they would scan all the loose books, they would index it all for us and link it and upload it to to the website, which we would have control over. They would show me how to do it, but they would do back to 40 years. So that, back 50 books or something, 1970 to 2023.
Where are they out of?
I think they're all over. These 3 companies are what everybody, or like not everybody, but the majority of people in Vermont use.
Okay.
For courts.
That was my other question, is just if you talk to
Yeah.
a town clerk somewhere else who said, oh, we love.
Yeah, so it was all across the board. Like I went with the top 3 that people had chose. So that's where I had got my original price. It was $18,923. And then there's a monthly fee, which includes a scanner, a printer, a computer for entering documents, and a public computer for research. And that was,
Do they maintain all that?
mhm,
And the scanners for new.
and the scanners for all the new stuff that I put in the land records. That was $550 a month.
Yeah.
And then it's a 50-50 monthly split for revenue, so it's $2 per page for them to get copies of it, so they would get $1, we would get $1, which is what we get right now. So that was,
That's cheating.
so that was Avenue. I then reached out to, this one here, to Nemrick, which we have Nemrick for everything else. The module to add it would be $695 and $145 to install it and set up. Then we have the option of either having me and Bonnie scan and index the book. We could hire somebody to scan and index the book, or we could hire an outside firm to take the books off site, which I didn't like that. To then scan and index them. But they don't do it for you. So like, but once you do that, it's $1,200 a year for hosting, and it's a one-time $800 setup. So this one is like astronomically cheaper, obviously. And we already
Well-
have
More work.
more work on my end,
Yeah.
because I would be responsible for doing it all, which like is okay-ish. I don't know.
Ask a busy person.
Yeah, I haven't decided yet.
When you see her walking down the street, looks of land records.
That's all right. That's all right, taking a loan. And then pot was the 3rd option. It would be $270 a month. And their breakdown is kind of funny to figure out. It was like multiple different invoices or And I'm not even sure if COP would work for us because we failed, oh yeah, this one was 53,720. And our internet failed their like thing anyways. Right. So yeah, so I'm down to these two, Nemrick or Avenue, and I wanted to know if you have preference and if we could make a decision, then I could go ahead and start.
Do you have a preference?
Do I want to scan them all? Not necessarily, but do I think in the long run it would be best for the town? Yes, because we already have Nemrick, they're easy to
Right.
work with.
And
Do you like working with them?
Yeah, they're fun. They're very responsive. I
Yeah.
think some of their software could be updated a little bit, but I think they're nice enough and
If
they're,
you give them a call,
yeah, immediately, yeah.
And Bonnie can do this and help you.
Yeah, Bonnie and I could do it, or if we found that it was something that was really like, if we wanted somebody for 10 hours a week.
Mhm.
I mean,
Betsy Race.
yeah,
Yeah.
if we're doing it through Nemrick, we're saving about, I wanna say $15,000.
Yeah, but you gotta put in labor.
If you, I mean, it wouldn't be,
Yeah, but
it
what
would
if
just
it-
be my labor during work hours.
what if it was $10,000, it's still
Yeah,
saving
but-
five?
What if you decided that?
If I hired somebody, then we would talk labor, but we had already allotted $18,000.
Right.
So we have the money to,
So you think
Yes.
we could do it in that 18 anyways?
yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I'm kind of leaning towards number. If that's fine with you
So I
guys.
make the motion to go with
What's the
Nemrick.
window time that you can get back 40 years or whatever this was?
It would depend on if I wasn't busy,
You're always with-
if I wasn't as busy. I don't know. I mean, it's something I could just chip away at, like even if it took a year to get back
Right.
40 years,
You're gonna gotta do it. something.
right? I think that's
I
okay.
think that's fair.
Okay.
I'm expecting you.
A year,
Do you have any comments? Because you know all these different
I-
people.
What you're saying,
I would hire somebody that I can
with that.
Okay,
We could hire Rudy.
yeah, Rudy's got enough on his plate. Okay, then I feel comfortable hiring Nemrick, just as long as you guys are on the same page that it might not be,
too.
well, and that includes, they'll come, they'll tell me how to set the scanner up, they'll tell me which scanner to get.
No, but like the Betsy Race or,
Oh, hiring somebody, yeah,
I think that's a good idea.
yeah,
So do you second Mike's motion?
I do.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
thank you.
Here,
Let's move on to tax rate approval by Becky Hoyt.
Who's at a fair right now?
Is that fair?
Yeah, so
Madison
here,
County?
I think so, yeah.
how's that running right now?
Looks like-
Addison,
Oh,
Must be underwater.
one of the practicals on the way.
yeah, they used to be, they used to have a whole bunch of like, they decided they. But no one.
So this is the 239.70,
Yes,
what we're voting on.
yes, that's for the non-residential and the residential.
So I don't remember, it's been a whole year since we did this. Do we have to vote on these individually or just the big number?
So we say that again?
It's not gonna-
Which do we have to vote on? Which number, or do we have to vote on the municipal rate separately, or do we just mention that in the motion? And have one motion?
No, yeah, I think we wanna, do the municipal rate specifically. Since that's our budget,
So the resident, non-resident, and
those are gonna be. Those are set by, the education portion set by the state, so we've already been provided by that number, so really all your.
it's the municipal, yeah.
Oh, right, we had no control over that.
Set by the state, that's already been said.
They can make a motion and push the state around. We'll tell you, it just happens to be the same number that you came up with.
yes, all right, make that a motion, John. It'll be in the Herald next week.
That's right.
Oh, Brian, push it back.
I guess. I make the motion that. We
approve.
what's the word?
Approve the tax rate.
Approve the municipal tax rate of 0.8748.
For FY 24,
Or
23, 24.
24.
20, 23, 24.
Yeah.
So,
I think of that.
Right, all in favor, say aye.
all right.
Can you tell us the number?
The municipal tax rate would be 0.8748. And if you add that to the school. Oh, you thought you were gonna get out of it cheap, right?
No, I think so, 2.97.
No, 0.8748. The resident rate, if you add that to the school rate, will be 2.2439.
And resident, non-resident, penny higher.
15%.
Are those locked in now, Rudy?
The
States,
education was,
yeah. Haven't they, did they tweak those at some point?
they did, so we got preliminary ones back in January.
Okay. Do I put today's date?
Yeah. Yep. Now we're on to other business. Maybe stuff first. Randy Hoyt
Yes,
got in a
Thank you.
bid for fixing the Foundry Bridge. This is to replace 16 bad beams with new ones. Beams, I think they're 4x4. I think they weren't pressure treated, but we put them pressure treated back in. They just run. The bridge goes this way and the beams go
Across.
Yeah. but
Good night.
Well,
Good night, Drew Road.
perpendicular, that's what.
nice talking to you. but- Nice
Yes.
talking to you.
Yeah, same here.
Friendly.
Next time, bring some cookies.
Yeah.
Anyway. 16 beams for $6,126 each.
what'd you say, $6,126?
Yeah.
Right.
Sounds like a lot of money for 16 beams.
Yeah, but they're installed, right?
Yeah, if you said replace, who's gonna take the old ones out, and new ones in?
Okay. Then. You gotta get something for his labor, right?
You've got 'em.
I just had a question now on pressure treated, just after the Royalton Bridge increase, so it was going into the river and like a thing double for that.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Remember, was it last summer? The Royalton Bridge that had creosote falling into the river.
Yeah,
Oh.
last summer, when we get really hot. we Start to drip.
Oh.
So do you know of any prohibitions on using pressure treated on bridges that are above water? Like leaching and anything like that?
I don't believe there's any prohibition.
Okay.
Right, that's a good point.
Like animals in the plastic. Plastic.
I hope they do.
Track
Microplastic.
beams,
Uh,
tracks,
Tracks.
Correct?
yeah,
Put that game, we'll put on the.
Like
Yeah,
composite, yeah.
that-
Wow.
tracks bridge beams.
Oh,
We must,
Are we gonna,
we gotta, deal with, now the car wagon guy. Roger's getting pretty nervous about that.
Mhm.
How we put that line.
What's that?
Hank Joseph over here, he just bought it. Just got that hole on the right hand side, just before the drop inlet.
Oh, I gotta. Was I supposed to ask somebody about this?
No,
Yeah.
I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
And I talked to Hank, and Hank is a funny guy. Say that,
You said it
The
was
only
much.
person that comes to me.
Okay, $20.
Hank bought some rebar and I think some planks, and he wants Rodney to go to the backhoe and dig a hole and then so he'll form it up and put the rebar in the form and then get some concrete.
He wants to fix the sluice way.
Well, he wants to, there's a hole that's going, I don't know how big the hole is, there's a bunch of boards on top of it with a traffic cone. So Hank wants to just dig it out and then form it and pour some concrete.
Is it right in the access to the bridge?
No, it's
It's in the right of way, but
50 feet probably from the bridge, it's before you get to the mill house,
yeah,
and it's on the right.
on cell outside.
And it's, and the sluice way goes underneath. the
Right, I
road.
know the sluice way goes there.
And what's happened is, I think that portion is either concrete that's deteriorated to the point where it's got a hole in it, or it's stones and the stone is falling out or something, I don't remember.
But is it in the right of way of the road?
It's not in the actual road surface at all.
Right.
But it's in the ditch, if it was a 3-rod road,
It would be,
it's in the right of way.
he has to get town permission and stuff. He couldn't just do it himself.
I think I think like he can cooperate with the town, my opinion is he can do it himself. But for some reason, he doesn't seem to think he wants to.
It's the town.
Well, and what he offered was the town road crew could bring the tobacco and dig the hole, and then he would put the rebar in, and then when folks were up here pouring concrete, they could just simply bring the concrete truck down and pour a little bit of concrete. But I don't see that working,
No,
only because I heard
I-
somebody
that's what I was
recently
thinking about.
wanted to do that, and the concrete company, Carroll Concrete, and whoever said, no, we pour concrete there, we don't
Yeah.
trick it across town.
right, that would not really.
And I think if they were going 100 feet down the road, it would be one thing.
Putting a flower bed.
It probably wouldn't hurt.
Let's be real, they wouldn't.
So anyway, I can talk to Rodney first if you want, and then we'll go back and talk to Hank. Or you can talk to Hank.
No, you, but I remember now, it's just sort of out of curiosity, I was gonna ask. My legislative council guy, who's against the municipal, what happens when someone owns
Yes,
like a water right away under a town right away? Really complicated.
right. Well, Rodney just was somebody's gonna follow it through it, and then it'd be like it's in the town right away, right, then they're liable for that. I think you're under it. With the left hand there.
So
I will.
can you draw me a little map, Gary?
That's why it's such a big deal.
Yeah.
I am not.
Just like, where's the road? Where's the kind of bridge?
I told you what I'm there for, I'm the year ago.
Still there.
Or bridge, yeah,
And then the middle cottage is
right there, yeah.
here. And then the mill is over here. And then the hole is, where the sluice way comes,
Through there, and then ours. A millstone or a set of gears originally
set of gears in here,
under
and
there.
it's open sluice way until approximately
Yeah,
here.
so that's what you can see, right,
You-
going
you-
back towards the dam.
The old granary's up here,
Yeah,
and then the hole is like approximately here, so it's off the road surface. There's actually a concave concrete ditch sort of that goes down through. And then there's a, down here a little further is the drop inlet. Where the water's supposed to go, so I
Oh.
think now the water's, the good share of it is going down this hole and not going in the drop inlet where it's supposed to.
well, it used to come through and then drop.
Well, there's a regular, there's a culvert in there,
Oh,
drop inlet is one of those with a grate on the top,
yeah,
There's a DI, right?
DI, yeah,
what's the DI?
drop inlet,
Drainage slope.
I thought it was a drop inlet. Drain
What
and
they
stuff.
told me, like,
all
So
rain.
what, you're talking surface water is supposed to go here,
Yeah.
but instead it's going down his fault.
Yeah.
Right.
I was wondering about the sluice. If that at some point had a drop, to create more
No,
pressure.
no, it's 6 feet wide probably, and it's not 6 feet tall, it's probably 5 feet tall. And it's a little scary because it's dark in there.
Yeah.
But
Oh, really?
and it's, I mean,
You've
from,
gone under the road here?
yeah,
Wow,
Just like
because it's
those
plugged
lines.
up here, right, at the moment?
yes, but it's from here to here, it's probably 40 feet or
Yeah.
something. And then it just goes into the mill, and I'm not sure, it's got the, like the gear thing and. I
It
don't
must
know.
drop somewhere though to get that.
Yeah, I think before it leaves the mill.
The
it
spin
drops.
stuff,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
So
So
it's-
that equipment's still there.
Yes, I think everything's still there.
Roger said he's gonna get back to work.
Thank you. Yeah, good luck.
Well, you had a permit in it at one point, I know.
From like 1970 or
Right,
something.
yeah. Good luck with the- see what happens.
And one time,
That's all- that's
over
all.
here by the mill dam. There's a gate there that controls the water. flow.
Right,
And one time that failed and the water was rushing through there like crazy. And I went into the mill, because Hank was living in New Jersey or whatever.
right,
And I went in, and it scared me to be in there because I just thought this
Right.
mill could tip over in a
Right.
second.
and is there a big exit then when the water's running through here?
Yeah, it's over here.
Oh, on that side, really?
Yeah, the river's over here.
Right, yeah. Well, it must pour right out of there when the mill's
Yeah.
running. Yeah. Huh. Pretty fascinating. I wish it was that historic site. But it's working.
You know, I can talk to Ron.
Okay. What would our ideal outcome be here? Not.
Ideally, Hank ought to just fix it. In my opinion,
We give the okay to fix it. we
Yeah.
fix it.
because it would take. If you went to wherever and got in the store and bought the premix. Or. Sacred stuff.
Right, yeah.
And it would take 10 bags of that or whatever, and it would be done.
We could haul it in his dog car, right?
Yeah.
And it's because. Essentially the ceilings collapse, so there's just a hole.
That's what Rodney said. Like
So
I
we
said,
just has to repair the ceiling or it's rotten on the sides now.
I think what he wants to do is Hank wants to do is just to put a patch on the top. And eventually that's gonna fail, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then 5 years from now, we're gonna have to fix something more.
Right, if he does a bad job, then it's.
Right,
This is my old coffee mug that I bring to work. It says it's a real body dazzling, so that's what Gary Drayton, who does all their metal detecting, says, because he's
Rich
British.
Bobby Dazzler.
If you find something fancy and it's really nice, you say, oh, it's a real Bobby
Oh,
dazzler.
really?
Yeah.
that's clear.
I wonder who the original Bobby Dazzler.
Anyways, that's my work cup. I needed some water.
Yeah, that, I can-
That's not all I think.
It's not Tuesday.
Work.
that's true.
I have two things for you, for other.
Other business, all right, bring it at us.
Um,
Oh, we never finished this thing, but go ahead with yours.
Oh,
okay,
why don't we finish this?
Okay.
okay.
We Gotta get it done, right?
Yeah, and I think we have money in our bridge account. We had-
I make a motion that we award the bid of fixing the town of Tunbridge Bridge to Randall S. Hoyt for an amount of $6,126.
My second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Well, read
Aye,
what it's gonna do.
Takes a while.
replace the new one.
For no more than 6,000.
Okay, what do you have on your list?
My list has a liquor license. Flag Hill Farm wants to be at the fairgrounds, September 30th to October 1st for the Sheep and Wool Festival.
Who's playing the time?
We're going to Fisher, Sebastian.
Yeah,
Flag Hill?
Sebastian.
It's like Gold Hill.
Sheep and Wolf Festival food area Saturday ends at 5 PM, Sunday 10 to 4.
I think it's okay.
Okay.
They've done it before, I think.
And then the other thing that I have, Marianne and I came up with this. It's just a independent contractor agreement regarding Matt Loftus, because we use him so often.
Mhm.
But we don't necessarily have, we don't put it out to bid with him, so if we had some sort of agreement, then it would fall under not having to have a bid, as long as it was, we put in there for projects not to exceed $10,000 per invoice.
Sorry, Lord.
Yeah, so that way it would just cover us for all of our FEMA projects and
So
everything.
if somebody complains, we can say, look,
Well, yeah, and yes,
and like he did on the Trafford Road, it was like, we gotta do this.
right.
Right.
And just for anything from here on out as
Yeah,
well, that,
that's a good
you know, we always choose Matt and have Matt do stuff and kind of without doing the bid
Right.
process, so this way we can.
Until Andrew Getty or Warren's in.
Alderman?
Andrew Getty.
Yeah, yeah,
When he gets kicked out of Bethel.
Derek's who I got all my wood from.
Yeah.
Me and my brother are. Good friends.
Good buddies, yeah.
Max will probably come fix Stratford Road for you, you know?
Yeah.
With Derek.
Is he worried project there?
During like storm events, yeah, like he did a lot of the excavation work with Derek for in Bethel after the flooding.
He took many trades.
He does it all. Wherever the action is, that's where Max is.
Oh, that's the one thing. As long as, was like VLCT, did they have like some examples of that sort of thing?
No, this was, it kind of just covered some of the bases that FEMA had wanted it to cover regarding independent contractors. And I had like just searched for a couple different independent contractor agreements, and pulled out the pieces that I thought would pertain to us about like compensation, expenses, and that they would have their own insurance, just that type of thing.
It's all that,
Yeah,
and that sort of no bid. Whatever we call
that
it.
it's almost like a time and materials contract, which. Yeah, that just, you know, as long as it's less than $10,000. That Matt's kind of our go-to guy. We have an agreement with him.
You think it's safe if we did a $20,000 job, then we could break it up into 2 invoices?
That's why we set per invoice. That way it would be like,
I don't know why not, because you get materials and labor or trucking
Day
and,
day one, day two.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, you just have to bill more often.
No, it makes sense. I mean, there's probably already this sort of stuff for emergencies, right? Like,
so he was fine. He's covered under all of the emergency work. So like this doesn't necessarily even have to do with this FEMA round. Because this work that he did for us was all under emergency, like,
and you don't have to do a bid process.
right, he needed to fix the road because there wasn't a road and Matt could come in and do it. It didn't matter how much
Right.
it cost, whatever, like, it's
This
fixed.
is when he
But-
puts in 3 culverts. and-
This is for anything. This is for like, he comes in and helps us for snow removal events. And then like, we're not bidding out other people to do it because Matt will do it because he lives in town. Yeah, or he's gonna come help on a road culvert project, or he's gonna do this, or he's gonna do that.
That's great. Gary, you just have to sign it or
Yeah.
make a motion.
Oh, yeah, I had a motion.
Make a motion to accept the independent contractor agreement as written.
From Mount Office.
Yeah, just, it mentioned just Matt. so-
Yeah, from Matt Loftus Construction.
Second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That was my 2 things.
If we're approving the warrant, so.
Do you want to leave this on and recording, or do you wanna?
We can shut it off and just, we're gonna look at the minutes and then do the boring stuff, look at the warrants and sign them. What do you say when we leave? Adjourn, we're gonna adjourn, but
I'll make,
you can make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion. So we can sign it.
I'll accept it.